Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're going on a fascinating journey into the world of mouse deer.
Mouse deer.
Yeah, you heard that right.
Like the tiny deer.
Yeah, they're like these miniature versions of the deer we're usually familiar with, but with some pretty surprising twists. In fact, we're basing our deep dive today on a YouTube video I found.
Oh, cool.
It's called Exploring the Fascinating World of Mouse Deer over on the Beast World channel.
Kitschy.
And let me tell you, mouse deer have some wild adaptations. You'd think all deer would have those majestic antlers, right?
Yeah, for sure. Pretty iconic.
Not these guys. They've ditched the antlers and instead they've got, get this, elongated canine teeth.
Whoa, canine teeth.
Can you imagine? Tiny deer, but with, like, little sabers.
That's wild. You wouldn't really think a little herbivore would need that kind of weaponry.
I know, right? So, before we get too ahead of ourselves, what do you say we back up a bit and cover the basics of mouse deer? You know, where they fit in, how big they are, that kind of thing.
Sounds good. So mouse deer belong to the Tragulina family, which falls under the Artiodactyla order.
Artiodactyla,
It's a mouthful, I know. Basically, it means they're even-toed ungulates.
which means,
They're related to animals like hippos and camels, believe it or not.
no way, those are some distant cousins.
Right. But unlike their massive relatives, mouse deer are incredibly small. We're talking about 3 to 6 kilograms.
So, like, about the size of a small dog. A big house cat.
Yeah, exactly. And they only stand about 12 to 20 inches tall at the shoulder.
Okay, so definitely not your average deer. And where do these little guys hang out?
Their main habitat is the dense forests of Southeast Asia.
You know, I can already see how that tiny size would be a huge advantage in those thick forests.
Absolutely. Plus, their brown or grayish fur acts as perfect camouflage, helping them blend right into the forest floor.
Like little forest ninjas. I bet that helps them avoid predators, too.
Definitely. They've got to watch out for snakes, birds of prey, and even bigger mammals that might see them as a snack.
Yeah, being small in the wild definitely comes with its challenges. But speaking of avoiding predators, I read that mouse deer are primarily nocturnal.
That's right. They're most active at night, moving quietly through the undergrowth under the cover of darkness.
So while we're sleeping, they're out there living their best lives. Do we know why they prefer the night?
Well, it's likely for a few reasons. First, it helps them avoid the heat of the day. Second, there's less competition for food from other herbivores. And third, their night vision is amazing, giving them an edge in the dark.
That makes sense. So while they're out there in the dark, what's on the menu?
They're herbivores, so their diet mainly consists of leaves, fruits, and flowers.
Okay, typical herbivore stuff. But I did see something interesting about their grazing habits. They've got a unique way of reaching those tasty leaves, don't they?
Yeah, sometimes they'll actually stand up on their hind legs to reach higher vegetation.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that. It's adorable. They look like little ballerinas reaching for the top shelf.
Yeah. And those forests, while they are humid, mouse deer still need a reliable source of water to drink.
That's a good point. And speaking of those humid forests, water is probably crucial for more than just drinking, especially when it comes to reproduction, right?
You're thinking about the gestation period?
Yeah.
It's actually quite long for an animal their size, about 7 months.
7 months. Wow.
And they typically only have one fawn at a time.
Just one. It seems like a lot of pressure to raise a single offspring.
Absolutely. The mother is incredibly protective. She hides the fawn in dense vegetation until it's strong enough to venture out.
Smart move. So we've got these tiny, solitary creatures perfectly adapted to their environment, those Southeast Asian forests you mentioned earlier. Can you tell us a bit more about where exactly we can find them?
Sure. They're mainly found in countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and some parts of the Philippines. They love those tropical rainforests, swampy areas, places with lots of dense undergrowth.
It's sad to think that those habitats are facing threats, though.
Yeah, definitely. Deforestation and human encroachment are major issues.
It's really crucial that conservation efforts are put in place to protect these little guys in their homes. So we've touched on their small size, their nocturnal habits, and now I want to go back to their amazing adaptations. They're small, but they're also really fast, right?
Yeah, they can really zip through those forests.
And what about their senses? What else helps them survive?
Well, they have a super keen sense of smell.
Like bloodhound level.
Pretty much. It helps them find food, avoid predators, and even communicate with each other.
Communicate through smell.
Yep. Male mouse deer have scent glands on their legs. They use them to mark their territory and attract mates.
So it's not just those saber teeth that come in handy. But I also read that they have an interesting defense mechanism, something about freezing instead of running.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool strategy. Instead of always running away, they'll sometimes freeze and rely on their camouflage to blend in with their surroundings.
Wow, talk about trusting your environment. It's like a deer version of playing hide and seek. Now, before we wrap up, I have to ask, are there different types of mouse deer?
There are. You've got your lesser mouse deer, the greater mouse deer, and the Bornean mouse deer, just to name a few. Each species has its own unique characteristics, which is pretty awesome.
So much variety in such a small package. It's amazing how much we can learn from these tiny deer, from their unusual teeth and solitary habits to their incredible adaptations. They're like a perfect example of how nature finds a way, no matter how big or small a creature may be.
Couldn't have said it better myself. They're definitely proof that good things come in small packages.
So for all you listeners out there, I'll leave you with this. If these mouse deer are solitary creatures in dense forests, how do you think they actually manage to communicate with each other? Like what kind of calls or signals do they use? It's a mystery worth pondering and maybe even researching.
And hey, if you're really intrigued, check out that Beast World YouTube video we talked about earlier. It's got even more amazing facts about these fascinating creatures.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of mouse deer, everyone. Until next time.